Face reveal. Hey, I'm Danny, or Danny T Radio, as I go by on YouTube. This is going to be a little bit of a different video for me this week, and next week I'll be doing what I was doing. I definitely was not planning on making a video like this. I don't really even like the setup I got going on right now. Originally, the video I wanted to do this week was the forgotten rivalry in MLS between the Chicago Fire and the New England Revolution, but that can wait for another week. I had to make an audible because on Tuesday, April 2nd, a complete bomb was dropped in the form of a tweet by user Jay Vlaha. I don't know how to say his last name, so I'm just going to keep calling him Jay Vlaha. The tweet was a leaked conversation between him and someone, supposedly from the Fire organization. If you want to pause the video and go ahead and read the tweet, basically what it says is that the Chicago Fire are going to rebrand as Chicago City Football Club, and they're planning on leaving Bridgeview and moving back to Soldier Field in downtown Chicago. Okay, now the Chicago Fire haven't actually confirmed or denied this, but both ESPN and The Athletic have written articles about this, so, I mean, it's probably happening. Or part of it is happening, or at least something really big is about to change for the Fire. And it's not just because ESPN or The Athletic have written about it. Jay Vlaha does seem like a pretty reliable source. I mean, he's got a good Twitter following. He's got a lot of the Fire community following him. He's got a lot of pretty prominent soccer writers and soccer members following him. I should also know that Jay Vlaha used to work for the Chicago Fire. He doesn't anymore, but I think it's safe to assume that he still has a lot of connections, probably a lot of friends that are still with the Fire. So the idea of someone leaking him this information really isn't that far-fetched. Plus, it's not just him saying it anymore. A lot of the Fire community have come out and said these rumors are accurate, and most agree that the Fire are indeed trying to move to Soldier Field, and that a rebrand is definitely being talked about. Nothing seems to be finalized yet, but it seems like they are strongly considering it. But probably the most telling source is Fire Confidential, Guillermo Rivera, which, by the way, if you're a Fire fan and you're on Twitter, you have to follow this guy because, I mean, he's the best source for Fire news. He also writes for The Athletic, so if you're a subscriber there, you can get more content from him. Even he confirmed these rumors, so, I mean, for me, that's all I need. I know now that this is the real deal. Okay, let's just be honest for a second. I mean, the Fire, they got some issues. Most MLS fans can see that. Most Chicago Fire fans can see this. Not that guy, but whatever. They've been pretty bad on the field for, like, most of the last decade. I mean, the first 10 years of existence, they made the playoffs 9 times. The last 10 years, they've made it, like, 3 times. In a league that's built for parity, that's pretty bad. And when your team's just not competitive for that long, I mean, you're gonna lose fans. If Atlanta and Seattle were going through this stretch, I guarantee you they wouldn't be putting up quite the numbers they're putting up now. It also doesn't help that they've been extremely unlucky in the transfer market. I mean, outside of Blanco and Schweinsteiger, they've been awful in their designated player signings for the most part. And they've missed out on so many players. They've missed out on Jermaine Jones to a freaking coin flip, something that I'm still questioning. They missed out on Didier Drogba. He went over to Montreal. There's a lot of other players that they almost got, but they didn't quite get. And I mean, part of me isn't really that surprised because playing for the Fire is a tough sell because it's Chicago, but it's not really Chicago. It's 15 miles away from downtown in a stadium that's sometimes only half full. I just think if we would have gotten some of those players, maybe our history and maybe our attendance would have been a little bit better. Speaking of attendance, that's obviously the biggest issue that the Fire is facing. Everyone can see that it's not great. It's super annoying seeing other teams' fans always commenting on it on Twitter, and I know I shouldn't care, but I do care. And it's like, I mean, what can I do other than offer up excuses? Like, I know the Fire don't have great attendance as it is, but MLS certainly isn't doing them any favors by giving them 3 home games in March, all with noon kickoff times, including a game on St. Patty's Day weekend. Like, come on, MLS, throw us a bone here. Now, we will definitely see the attendance for the Fire bounce up a little bit in the summertime, but even still, everyone recognizes for the third largest market in the country to be near the bottom of attendance in MLS is not good enough. So something has to change. So this guy, Joe Mansueto, I don't know how you say his name, but he comes in and he buys basically 49% of the Fire, which is, I mean, great news for Fire fans. We're rejoicing because finally it seems like change is going to happen. And then this tweet happened. You know, everywhere I've been looking, like Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, it seems like I'm seeing the same responses from fans of other teams that aren't the Fire. They agree this is, you know, generally a good move, including the rebranding. From Fire fans, well, I mean, they're ecstatic that we're moving out of Bridgeview, potentially, but they're also really, really angry about the possible rebrand. And for those of you that aren't Fire fans, if you're confused as to why a team that averaged 15,000 fans last year, why we would be exciting that we would be moving to a much bigger football stadium, just know that the situation in Bridgeview is really, really bad. And again, everyone wants to make fun of the Fire attendance during these midweek games, but it doesn't really surprise me when I see the numbers so low, because getting to Bridgeview, if you're on the north side of Chicago, like if you're in Wrigleyville, it's kind of a nightmare. And also, Bridgeview, it's not the slums of, like, Illinois. Like, I don't know how it really got that reputation. It's not a bad place, but there's not a lot to do there. It's not, say, downtown Chicago, where there is a lot to do. I mean, in 2005, it was kind of just, like, a race to build a stadium. I mean, everyone was building stadiums. You had the Crew build one, you had LA build one, you had FC Dallas build one. Honestly, location didn't really seem like that big of a deal back then, and, well, hindsight is 2020. Now we know it is a big deal. And for those of you that are not saying it's a big deal, then, I mean, let me just ask this. Why is every stadium that's far away from downtown struggling with attendance? I mean, this isn't just a Chicago Fire thing. This is a problem with FC Dallas, a problem with the New England Revolution, a problem with the Philadelphia Union, and, oh, look at that. The 6 teams with stadiums closest to downtown, they're doing just fine. Okay, yes, Houston, they're a little bit of an outlier. They are downtown, but they got some issues on their own that they need to resolve. I don't think anyone is saying that Chicago would be Atlanta or Seattle if they had a brand new downtown stadium or if they were playing at Soldier Field, but I think it's safe to say they would be doing better than what they're doing now. I mean, 17,000, 18,000 fans, 19,000 if they're consistently doing well. I think that is absolutely achievable. And another issue that, I mean, I have with the Fire is that they just don't have any presence downtown. I mean, you don't see a lot of bars saying Chicago Fire flags. If you fly into O'Hare Airport, there's not a single Chicago Fire thing you can buy at any of the shops. You can't find any apparel in the airport. And, I mean, not having a downtown stadium really hurts. It makes the Fire an afterthought. So, yes, absolutely, 100% I am on board with the Chicago Fire leaving Bridgeview and moving to Soldier Field. Honestly, I didn't even think it would happen. Mickey Turner, he works for socceresq.com. He wrote a really great article kind of highlighting the issues with Bridgeview. Honestly, it's like the worst stadium lease I've ever seen, not just in soccer, but like for any sport in this country. I'll go ahead and leave a link in the description. You can go ahead and check out how bad it is. The only thing I want to point out in that is this little blurb. If the attendance at a game is anticipated to be significantly insufficient to make the stadium a cost-effective venue for the game, the team may play at a different location in the Chicago market area. So, I don't know, complete speculation, but maybe that's why MLS and the Chicago Fire are scheduling so many home games in March with noontime kickoffs, because that'll be able to justify a reason for leaving Bridgeview, and, you know, they could just say, hey, it's not working here, that's why we gotta leave. Which, if that's the case, then, I mean, honestly, it's kind of genius. It's kind of diabolical. Like, let's sabotage the team short term so we can potentially gain in the long term. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but honestly, it wouldn't really surprise me at this point. Now, as far as the Fire rebranding, yeah, I'm with everyone else. I just don't really see a point in it. I mean, I understand what Red Bull did to the Metro Stars, and I understand what Sporting Kansas City did with the Wizards. I think the difference between that is I think there's more people upset at this decision. And honestly, like, the reason why I'm so mad about this is because it's just, the Fire is such a perfect team name. I think Kevin Egan, he said it best. It's about what the Fire means to Chicago. Its legacy is a story of fortitude and solidarity. Different cultures coming together to rebuild Chicago into the gorgeous city we see today. A city of proud, hardworking folks. And the recovery after the Chicago Fire symbolizes that. That's perfectly stated. And the Florian Cross, it pays homage to the Chicago firefighters. Like, it's one of the best team names in sports, in my opinion. I mean, the biggest issue with the Fire is not the Fire name itself. It's just the fact that, again, they don't have a presence in the city. And I'm not a marketing expert. I'm a communications major. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. And I know I'm oversimplifying the solution to the extreme, but it just seems like if the team was branded a little bit better, if we had a little bit better marketing, they would be in a lot better spot. And I don't think rebranding the team is necessarily what that means. I don't know. I am really struggling with this idea of a rebrand. It's like, why would I stop supporting a team just because they changed their name? If I was married, which I'm not, but if I was married, would I stop loving my wife if she legally changed her name? I mean, I hope not. I hope that wouldn't mean anything. So why should it make a difference with the team? And the other part of me is because this is the Fire. Like, this is who I've been supporting for 20 years. I mean, Novak and Thornton and Segaris and Rolfe and McBride and Blanco and Stoichkov and everyone. They were with the Fire. They weren't with Chicago City or whatever they're going to call them. So, I don't know. I'm really torn up about this. The Chicago Fire is who I have an emotional connection with. I don't have an emotional connection with Chicago City. I mean, maybe I'm just out of my mind on this one, and maybe like if and when it does happen, I'll calm down and it'll grow on me. But right now, it's, God, this sucks. And I hate the new logo design. Like, it looks like the Chicago Cubs. I just hate everything about this so far. At least I know I'm not the only person that's feeling this. But it's frustrating because it feels like we don't really have a voice in this. Now, hopefully, the Chicago Fire front office is reading these tweets and reading these Facebook posts, and maybe they'll make up their mind and say, hey, maybe this isn't exactly the best idea. Maybe it's just a coincidence that Nelson Rodriguez worked with Chivas USA and now they no longer exists, and now he's working with the Chicago Fire. Or maybe it's not. I don't know. But, you know, then again, I was also pretty confident that the Crew were going to be playing in Austin this year, and obviously I was wrong, thank God. I think the Save the Crew movement was amazing for the league, and you know, I don't know if we need to be starting the hashtag Save the Fire. I've already seen some people use it, but I just hope the Fire don't become anything else, because that would suck so bad. If they, meaning the Chicago Fire, if they rebrand, I hope it's not the Chicago City. I hope it's something small, you know, FC Chicago Fire, or like Second City Fire, or Deportivo Sporting Real Inter Chicago Fire United FC. Like, I don't care. Like, add whatever European stupid name you want to add to it. Just don't get rid of the Chicago Fire, and don't get rid of the Florian Cross either, because that's a, you know, it's a really cool shape for a badge too. So don't do that either. Okay, that's really all I got. No outro music this week. It just doesn't really fit with the mood of this video. And again, next week, it's not going to be just me rambling. I'm actually going to talk about something. But Fire fans, let me know what you think about this rebrand, about the move to Soldier Field, about everything. And non-Chicago Fire fans, are we overreacting to this? Is a rebrand, is that going to be ultimately good for the Chicago Fire? Let me know. I would love to hear what you have to say, and thank you for watching. And get more content from him. But even he pretty much confirmed that these